Part 7. We're getting back to where where I left off. I had gotten interrupted last time. But it's okay. Studying didn't come easily to you, though you tried hard. You worked about as hard as most people and got pretty average results as well. You never tried much, but you still didn't do that bad. You didn't bother at all in school, and your grades reflected that. Everything in your classes came easily to you. You worked hard for your excellent grades. You worked about as hard as most people and got pretty average results as well. You guessed that was reasonable enough. You felt a lot of pressure to get higher grades than you did last year. You hoped to do just as well this year, but it wouldn't be a big deal if they dropped some. You were confident your grades would remain great. You had no plans on getting excellent scores this time around. You were confident your grades would remain great. You were confident your grades would remain great. You could definitely turn things around from here on. Yeah. You tried to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled. You sound so spacey. What's up? Just think about school. Lee groaned. Are you thinking about how we don't have to think about it 'cause it's summer? That's what I'm doing. I'm looking forward to going back. Let's make a petition for more vacation time. It's so awful, I hate going. Come on, it's too scary not to think about it. Let's make a petition for more vacation time. Let's make a petition for more vacation time. Yeah, everybody in class would sign it. Maybe some of the teachers too. Though I guess school isn't all the way bad. You can do some good things there. You can just do more when school's out. Learning new things can be cool. Gym is pretty great though. It's the easiest way to hang out with people not in the neighborhood. The cafeteria lunches at my school could be better than they had any right to be. There's nothing good about my school. Learning new things can be cool. I just wish everyone did okay with how they taught the things, not just some people.
Me too.
Me too. Gym is pretty great though. It's the easiest way to hang out with people in the neighborhood. It's the easiest way to hang out with people not in the neighborhood. If I didn't go to school, I'd never meet anybody new. No one really comes here. Uh-huh. Gym is pretty great though. There was all sorts of sports stuff during gym. Oh yeah, it can be fun sometimes. The cafeteria lunches at my school could be better than they had any right to be. Lucky, mine's boring. But that was all. And that's pretty much everything that's good about school. Okay, point taken.
All right.
Now, I decree the topic of school is officially closed. We have to talk about this summer first, before we start plotting the rest of our lives. I've got some plans already. Oh, tell me. I'm gonna visit my cousins. Of course. What's something you want to do? The first thing that comes to your head. I want to spend time with people. I've got some new art supplies, reading. I'm going to catch up on movies and TV. Probably I'll spend time at the beach. I don't want to do anything at all. It's a vacation. I'll probably spend time at the beach. I could have guessed that one. You leaned back in your bed, settling in as you continued chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her, and you'd be seeing her soon, you found plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day. You sat up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek today, and we met a new kid. Like, at your neighborhood? Mm-hmm. His parents are visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What was he like? Mean. He kept snapping when all we were trying to do was talk to him. He just kept being rude to everyone. But especially Cove. It was awful. I don't think I want to meet him. You want a boy to stay away before even meeting him? That's an unexpected twist. Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her. Hey, who are you to talk? You give practically all your attention to boys, or maybe just one boy. I see how much you like Cove. You got me. Yeah, that's a special case. You don't give him all my attention. I don't give him all my attention. You weren't able to say anything to that. You got me. Lee laughed at your affirmation, deeply amused. Even though she couldn't see, you shook your head at her, grinning to yourself. There was a stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated older sister. She flung the door open, a frown etched on her face.
Come on.
How long are you going to hog the phone? Glancing at your watch, you realized that your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand. The other one lodged on her lip. She noticed the realization on your face. Time's up. Gotta go. I'll see you soon, okay? With a sigh, you said your goodbyes to Lee. Sorry for being long. I'm still using it. No, get out of my room. Sorry for being long. Lee, I have to go now. Bye. Okay, see you soon. Tell Elizabeth and your moms I said hi, too. You'd barely pressed the end call button when Elizabeth whisked the handset from your fingers and began dialing someone new as she strode out of the room. Your mom's voice called from downstairs. Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it. With that, she shut your door behind you. Silence was left in the wake. That was one way to end your first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gotten dark outside, and you laid in bed wide awake. Your window rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched, staring over at it with furrowed brows. From your vantage point, you saw only the moon and an open sky. You were curious. What had caused that noise? Cocking your head, you sat up and moved closer to the window. You wanted to get to the bottom of this. To your utter shock, your gaze was met by a pair of familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove? You squinted. Yup, Cove was right outside your window. Your house was very angular, and some parts stuck out further than others, so it theoretically wouldn't be hard to climb around on. Still, just because somebody could didn't mean you expected it to ever happen. Cove looked awkward and unstable. His feet were braced against a section of the wall that jutted out, his arms flexing with the effort to keep him upright. With difficulty, he waved. Then he wobbled, immediately dropping his hand in alarm. You hurriedly opened the window. Cove scrambled inside, nearly falling flat on his face. But he was able to right himself in the end. He released a breath once he was steady.
Hey.
Hi, Jamie. What are you doing? What's up, Romeo? This sure is a surprise, but you're always welcome here. Is everything okay? What happened? You're lucky I didn't start screaming. Amazing, my dreams have come true. I don't know if I should say what's up, Romeo, or amazing, my dreams have come true. I'm gonna say, what's up, Romeo? What's up, Romeo? I needed to talk to you and couldn't wait until tomorrow. If I rang the doorbell, I know your moms would have answered and they'd just make me go home. I didn't really want to explain why I was coming over anyway. I don't want to talk about it. Well, besides with you, but that's why I did that. As unexpected as this was, you were touched. Cove felt like he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad was on the phone. Cove suddenly looked very cross. Dad, he was talking to my mom, still is, probably. You raised your eyebrows. Cove had eavesdropped on his parents' phone conversation. You shouldn't have done that. Eavesdropping is bad. I would have done that too. You didn't comment on him eavesdropping. I would have done that too. Cove looked relieved. A small smile played on his lips. Yeah, it's hard not to spy, at least a little. It was about me. Are you going to stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened varied. Sometimes he would go during winter break, but usually he went during summer. Even though it was hard news when you found out he was leaving, and you missed seeing him those weeks, you understood. To your surprise, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too, but no, that's not what they were saying. My dad asked my mom not to have me leave this year. He said she could come stay with us here. He waited for him to continue. He didn't. The conversation abruptly dropped off. You couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. What did your mom say? She told him she'd come. I know she's coming soon, before school starts. Oh. You had heard Cove talk about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about past memories or what happened while he was visiting her. Still, it was one thing to hear about someone, and another to actually meet them. Very soon, you were going to see Cove's mom in person. You were taken aback by the news, so you could only imagine how Cove felt. You looked over at him. He was pacing across the room, his features pained with dread. Before they'd barely stay in the same room long enough to have lunch. Now we're gonna be all together again? The three of us? After all this time? Just for a few weeks? I know I should probably be happy they can talk to each other now. I'm still not. I'm just confused and freaked out. And now I feel really bad for feeling this way. Jamie, it's so... His fist tightened and his eyes became misty. I shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time already and I'm not a little kid. Though he wouldn't meet your eyes, you knew he was waiting for you to say something. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. That is hard to deal with. We can deal with this. I'm sorry, Cove. You know I'm here for you. Yeah, that's a lot. You didn't know what to say. I'm sorry, Cove. You know I'm here. The tense line of Cove's shoulders eased. Thanks. That makes me feel a little better. Like I'm not freaking out for no reason. A momentary silence fell over the two of you. You marveled at how the day started. You had woken up eager for summer vacation, but now things seemed so crazy. The mini debacle with Mr. Holden's gift, the newest addition to the neighborhood being so rude, and as if all that wasn't enough, now Cove's mom would be living with Cove and his dad again. Your whole life was kind of like that, it seemed, complicated and hard and different. Why couldn't things just get better with time? Jamie? The sound of your name, said quietly, pulled you from your thoughts. Go gazed at you concerned.
Are you okay?
Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. You meant it. Yeah, I'm okay. You didn't mean it. No, I'm not. I don't know. Who, me? I'm more worried about you. Wow, things are kind of bad for everyone, huh? Who, me? I'm more worried about you. You don't have to forget about yourself for me. I want to listen to you, too. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. Moonlight from outside cast shadows across his face and lit up his eyes. They seemed to sparkle with his smile. Just that one look brightened your mood somewhat. You know, I think I don't want to talk any more about this. He looked away, his lips thinning into a line, and rubbed at his arms. But I kind of don't want to go back home either. Could I stay a little longer, just doing something else? He appeared equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could you possibly turn him away? You can stay tonight, but we shouldn't make a habit of this. I got a flashlight and some cards. Are you in? Of course, you can always stay here, Cove. You held his gaze confidently, hoping your words got across to him. Cove perked up at your response, a smile appearing on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. You felt a little better at the sight. Somehow, you still had a lot of worries, but you were glad he was here. And not just tonight, you were glad he came into your life in the first place. That was a change you'd never want to undo. It felt totally natural to let him into your little world. That initial friendship had deepened so much over these past years, and you were certain there was room to get even closer. You joined Cove on your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, but you could tell this time it was half-hearted. He was still easy to read. Though he didn't want to talk about his mom and dad, He must be thinking about what happened and what's about to happen. You smiled gently at him. You put a hand on his shoulder. You patted his back. You hugged him. You took his hand in yours. You nudged him with your foot. You took his hand in yours. You stretched your short arm out and gently held his hand. It wasn't much, but you hoped the contact helped even a little. Cove blinked, startled, before his expression softened into something more natural. Conversation was stilted and broken, often by silence at first. Then both of you were able to get into your usual candor. As your secret hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You hoped a day would never come when life decided that the two of you would have to part ways, and you knew Cove felt the same. You opened your tired eyes, groaning, as they adjusted to the bright light that was streaming through your window and warming your peachy skin. With a loud yawn, you rolled away from the sunlight and blinked a couple of times, clearing the sleep from your eyes, before realizing with a start that it was actually morning. You couldn't remember you had fallen asleep. Cove had crept through your window during the night, and the two of you spent time together trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but couldn't put a finger on exactly when. You wondered how late Cove had stayed before heading home. You rubbed your face and yawned again, contemplating whether you should get out of bed and get ready for the day, or stay snuggled up for a little while longer, until your gaze landed on an instantly recognizable mop of pale green hair, and you bolted upright and gasped in surprise. He never left. He was still there in the morning. Cove. You laughed out loud. You jumped out of bed. You froze. Your muscles refused to move an inch, and your eyes widened as you stared at Cove's sleeping form in absolute shock. If your moms found out he had slept here the entire night, you would both be in big, big trouble. Realizing quickly that you needed to get Cove out of here before your moms or Elizabeth walked in and found him, you wheeled your body to get a move on and swung your legs over the side of the bed. You whispered in his ear. You shook his shoulder. You poked him in the face. You tugged at his hair. You threw a pillow at him. You whispered in his ear, "Cove, wake up." You whispered his name softly but urgently, and his eyes snapped open as he woke with a start. You scrambled out of the way as he abruptly jumped to his feet before almost losing his balance and falling back down. He recovered just as quickly and faced you indignantly. What was that for? Shh! What? The situation dawned on him, too, before he even finished the word. Cove blinked at you a couple of times, his eyes growing in panic, as some thought that only he could hear settled in his mind. Oh my god, I fell asleep. You weren't exactly sure what to do as you watched Cove pace your room, looking around frantically. Cove's hands flew to his face, letting out a sigh of relief when he found his glasses right where they were supposed to be. Despite that, he hadn't calmed down completely. The atmosphere was still frazzled. It's going to be alright. We're going to be in so much trouble. Just calm down. Settle down before moms hear you. You didn't say anything. Settle down before moms hear you. Cove nodded, his shoulders tense as he fixed you with a firm stare with his turquoise eyes. Letting out a heavy sigh, he ran a hand through his hair as aspiration. He couldn't look at you again as he spoke. I'll see you later. You were confused by how all of this had played out, but hoped that was true. Right, bye, Cove. At that, you were suddenly wrapped up in a tense embrace. As panicked as he was, this seemed to be something he couldn't forget before leaving. Thanks again. You're a good friend, Jamie. A really good friend. He firmly whispered the words into the top of your shoulder. It made you feel tingly. But you were let go before you had a chance to respond or even fully react. In a matter of seconds, he had climbed over your bed and opened the window. A cool breeze rolled off the ocean, fluttering through Cove's hair, filling your room with its salty scent. Cove anxiously stepped out onto the ledge. You wished him luck. You rallied him to keep going. You suggested he sneak out the door instead. You urged him to hurry up. You wished him luck. Good luck. Be super careful. You weren't sure if he heard you or not, but he kept going along, one foot in front of the other with increasing speed until his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out the window as far as it could go to try keeping watch. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down to the top of the garage and lowering himself onto the fence. From there, he finally dropped down to the ground. You threw out a thumbs up at his successful climb. He ran off towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. You had to admit that you were pretty impressed at how doable he made that look. Cove always seemed to have a way of seeming so smooth without even meaning to. With a little sigh, you reclosed your window, deciding there was nothing more you could do. You hopped off your bed and got ready to head downstairs for the day. You put on your slippers, you checked yourself in the mirror, you made your bed. You just left. You made your bed. It was a habit of yours. You straightened up your sheets, smoothed over your comforter, and flipped your pillows before stepping back and admiring your work. You took the stairs, slowly attempting to mask your face into a look of innocence. You were sure that someone would have come into your room if they had heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful. You had to play it cool. Hang on, I'm gonna close my door. When you stepped into the living room, Elizabeth was there, tapping her finger on the counter. Good morning, Elizabeth. She looked you over immediately, her eyes squinting at the greeting. Why are you being so weird? You hadn't even done anything. Your big sister never missed a beat, unfortunately. You turned and offered a tight smile, and her lips pursed together even tighter. Jamie! You shrugged it off. You climbed up. Wouldn't you like to know? Sorry. You excitedly blurted it out. You folded. Wouldn't you like to know? I would. That's actually why I asked. You shrugged non-committedly, determined not to tell her a thing. Further suspicious squinting occurred as she waited for something. But ultimately, she rolled her eyes, and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. She didn't seem to care enough to dig any further. Whatever. And then she walked straight out the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. Elizabeth went out most days to hang out with her friends from school around town. Today, you were extra glad for it, though you were also grateful she hadn't left the house any sooner and risked running into Cove. It looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast was eaten in peace and alone. Your moms were both out by the time you had gotten up. They had left you a serving of food from the breakfast they made, hash browns, an omelet, fruit salad, and there were a few sausage links. You took a little bit of everything. You passed on some parts because they weren't things you liked. You passed on some parts because you were trying to avoid meat. You passed on some parts because you were trying to avoid animal products. You passed on some parts because there weren't things. You took a little bit of everything. It was tasty. You appreciated that there was a variety in the meals your moms made. The day lazily drifted by at home, and eventually your parents returned. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment or two before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water and taking a long drink. It was a perfect, balmy summer afternoon, and you had decided to head outdoors and find something to do. You hadn't decided what that something was just yet, but you were sure something would pop up to occupy your time. As you were heading out the front door, you paused for a moment. You hadn't seen Cove since he had left that morning, and you couldn't help but think about what had happened to him. Would it be bad to go over to his house right now, or to call him to check in? You stepped out your house, still stuck in an internal debate with yourself, when a voice caught your attention. Hi, Jamie. Confused, you looked over to where an unrecognizable woman was waving at you, a friendly smile plastered on her face. You racked your memory for where you might have seen her before, but nothing came to mind. Not your school or from the country club your moms took you to. You had absolutely no idea who the woman was. The woman crossed the road towards you, and you were a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back into the house and lock the door. Oops, I'm sorry. Was that presumptuous? I've heard about you, but you have no idea who I am, do you? You shook your head, and she removed her sunglasses to reveal sparkly ocean blue eyes. All of a sudden, she seemed a little more familiar. My son lives here, and my ex too. With a bent smile, she lifted a hand to point at the condo across the street from your own house. She was Cove's mom. You didn't know why you hadn't realized sooner, now that you'd gotten a good look at her. She seemed nice. She seemed sort of strange. She looked really young. It made sense that she was Cove's mom. She felt so different to Cove. She was super pretty. This beautiful lady was Cove's mother? Wow. No matter your thoughts on her, you still felt taken aback that she had appeared here so suddenly. Cove mentioned she was coming, but you hadn't gotten the impression it would be the very next day. She extended a hand again, this time for you to take, and you studied the manicured fingers in front of your face and the assortment of bracelets that dangled from her wrist. I'm Kira Priest. You can call me Kira. You shook her hand. You didn't shake her. You shook her hand. You reached out and took her hand, and she shook yours firmly, grinning wide. I'm Jamie, but you already know that.
That I do.
That I do. Cope's mentioned you to me before. It's nice to officially meet you, Jamie. Cope talked to you about his mom. He hadn't mentioned how he said things about you to her. What has Cope said about me? What are you doing here? Nice to meet you too. You kept quiet. Nice to meet you too. She smiled at you fondly, her eyes crinkling at the corners. The sound of a door opening and closing caught both your attentions, and when you turned towards the sound, it was to find Cove exiting his house, his eyes skimming the ground. Considering just how tall he had grown, You kind of figured his mom also would have been tall, but she was much more on the short side, for an adult anyway. Cove's height must have come from his father.
My baby.
There you are. I thought you were gonna keep me standing out here all day. You tried to catch Cove's eye as he walked towards you, but his gaze was firmly fixed on the sidewalk. When he finally crossed the road and looked up, he gave you a pitiful look. After the way he had acted last night, you knew he must be feeling pretty mixed up about this. You tried to wordlessly express that you understood. Cove and I are heading into town to grab something to eat while the snore is at work. Kira beamed at Cove and ruffled his hair, which only seemed to upset him more. You assumed the snore she was talking about was Mr. Holden. Hey, you should come with us, Jamie. I'd love to get to know you better. Yeah, you should come. There was a pleading in his tone that you couldn't miss. Of course, we'll run it by your parents first, responsibility and all that.
Hey, Hoosies.
It'll give me an excuse to meet them, which I need to do at some point. It's important to be neighborly if I'm going to be roosting on the street for the time being. Any Hoosies, let's go. Kira walked ahead towards your house, and you hung back with Cove, who crinkled his nose as he watched her.
Sorry.
I'm sorry about her, but I really do want you to come. I don't want it to be just the two of us, not right now. You leaned in closer and whispered while checking around for anyone who might hear. What happened? Did your dad know you were gone? Cove shook his head and sighed heavily. Dad was so focused on Mom showing up that he didn't even notice. I thought when I heard them on the phone last night that it was something they were planning for the future. This morning, Dad said it was supposed to be a surprise, and I guess I was surprised. She's gonna be here all summer. Oh. You were surprised to hear that too. Cove sighed again, even heavier. I'll go with you, if you really want me to. He smiled, his shoulders relaxing a little in relief. Thanks, that'd be cool. The two of you headed over to where Cove's mom had just knocked on your front door and stood behind her. Mom answered the door after a minute, her eyebrows lifting in surprise at the group she found in front of her. You realized that, like you, she would have no idea that it was Cove's mom who was hanging with you. However, after blinking at the woman a couple of times and looking between her and Cove, the realization seemed to strike on her. Hello there, I'm Pamela.
I see.
I see you've met my kid, Jamie, and I'm guessing you've already known Cove for a while? Kira laughed, and you and Cove exchanged looks at your parents' weird sense of humor. I'm Kira Priest, Cove's mom. It's so nice to meet you. A head of purple-brown hair caught your eye, and Ma popped up behind Mom, squeezing herself in beside her. We have company. I was wondering what all the commotion was. She grinned excitedly at Kira. The two of them introduced themselves and shook hands.
Hello.
Hi, Jamie. Cove. Cove smiled at Ma shyly as she gestured a hand towards the living room. There's no use hanging around in the doorway. Why don't you come in? I'd love to, but I promised to take my son out to eat, and I wouldn't want to hold you up with a surprise visit. I understand. You're welcome to stop by anytime.
Of course.
I'll take you up on the offer when I can. Count on it. Would you mind too much if Jamie went with Cove and I? My treat. We won't be driving, just a quick walk down the road. Sure, that sounds
Have
nice.
fun.
I hope you all have fun. You gave your moms a look, and they smiled at you fondly. You were happy they were letting you go. You were happy they were letting you go. You could tell that Cove really needed the support, and you were ready to be there for him.
Marvelous.
Marvelous. Expect us back in an hour or two. We look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Your parents waved goodbye to the three of you as you backed up onto the street. There was the sound of the front door closing behind you. I'm pretty positive I saw some restaurants when I was in the taxi. Not too far from here. Yeah, it's a tourist town, isn't it? There's a lot of them around. It was kind of strange to see Cove give someone this much attitude. If he wasn't in the mood to be nice, he generally just kept to himself. Kira put her hands on her hips and smiled at her son. Well, you sound like the area expert. Do you have any recommendations for a place nearby? Not really. Kira pouted at him a little and turned to you instead. How about you, Jamie? Want to point me in the right direction? You shrugged. Not really. Sure, I have a couple of favorites. You'd been to a lot of places in town, and there were a couple that stood out from all the rest. There's a Chinese restaurant that me and my family go to all the time. It's my mom's favorite. There's also a tropical themed place that tries to be sort of fancy. Both sound like a treat. I'll leave it to you to pick for us, since Cove is going through a phase over there. He huffed at her and turned his face away. You insisted Cove contribute to the decision. It's okay, Cove. Tell us which you want more. He mumbled sulkily, willing to reject his mom, not you. I like the tropical place more. That's what I would have gone for, too. With 2 votes in favor of one restaurant, it seemed it was settled. We can go there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Will you show us the way? You nodded, taking the lead of your little group as Cove and his mom followed behind you. Together, the 3 of you left the neighborhood behind. The walk was about 15 minutes, and along the way, Kira asked a lot of questions about the area. Cove was quiet most of the time, so you ended up answering her instead. Kira explained that she lived in a large city and she loved how peaceful and relaxing everything seemed in Sunset Bird. The restaurant was busy as usual, but luckily you were shown right to a small table. Kira lowered herself into the chair while Cove picked the one diagonal to her, not facing her, or to her side. It was awkward. Ahem, let's see. To start, what would you all like to drink? I'll get an orange soda.
Noted.
Noted. Jamie? Soda. Which flavor? Cola. Sure. Kira placed the order for your drinks, getting a black hot coffee for herself, and it didn't take long before they were brought to the table and set in front of you. You took a long sip of your drink as you looked around the restaurant. Your small group checked over the menus, deciding what to order. The last time you came here, the dish you ordered was amazing. You wanted to order something different this time. Kira and Cove didn't need any encouragement for this. They were totally focused on the information in front of them. Soon the meals, too, were ordered and the menus taken away. You glanced at the table surface, waiting to figure out what to say. Cove sunk back further into his seat. and avoided eye contact. He started to twiddle his thumbs while acting like all this was perfectly normal. His sour feelings today were unignorable. Instead of asking more open questions, he'd brush off. Kira had mercy on her son and instead put her focus towards you. So Jamie, what's a few things that you're into? There's gotta be something you do for fun, especially now that you're not buried in school assignments. Oh dear. I like to read. I like to watch. Games are fun. I like to play. I hang out with people. I go to the beach, and I'm into sports like music. I spend time on art. I write things. I still spend time studying fashion. I'm really into Cove. Can I say that? Without embarrassing him? Let me save. Kira let out a sudden laugh, and Cove gasped beside you. It was a dramatic enough inhale that he almost choked on the soda. You shrugged at the reaction. It was a truthful answer to the question. Jamie, Cove whispered at you disapprovingly, obscuring part of his face with a hand, but Kira only waved him off and encouraged you to go on. We spend time together when we can. I like it. Well, we have something in common. Kira smiled at Cove, who didn't look too impressed by either of you at that moment. I go to the beach and build sandcastles. Swim, look for seashells, walk along the shore, go surfing, and build sandcastles. Build sandcastles. That sounds like a lot of fun. Swim. You must be a strong swimmer since you live so close to the ocean. I find the water a little scary, but I still like to dip my toes sometimes. Hey, it's nice to have friends and family to spend time with. I'm trying to get more, but my moms think I have enough.
Are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Amber's going to take you to the bait store if you want to go. When you get through.
Okay. Can a person ever really have too many shoes? Understandable. I just love the way fashion lets you express yourself, no matter who you are. Ah yes, it's hard to resist those little shiny treasures. She lifted her wrist as she spoke, jingling the many bracelets that were hanging around it. Video games. I don't know much about them. Maybe you can show me sometime? That's great. We should all play a game together sometime. I like card games too. Maybe we can all play together sometime. I like to watch movies. Kira nodded her head, and you guess she must like that too. TV. It's pretty addicting when you find a good series, isn't it? I still spend time studying. Studying in summer? I have to admit I don't know a lot of people who enjoy that, but hard work is the key to getting what you want in life. I spend time on art. I create digitally. My computer at home doesn't really have all the programs I need. Drawing. I filled out a lot of sketchbooks. I like to read manga. I haven't heard of that style, but I'm sure it's very good. Poetry. Sophisticated beyond your years, I see. Comic books. Oh, just like Co's daddy back in the day. Fiction novels. Me too. Nothing beats curling up with a good book. Music. I listen to a lot of it. I have an MP3 player at home that my mom helped me put some music on, and I've seen some concerts. Awesome. I write things. A fellow writer. Writing is a great form of expression, don't you think? Kira sighed wistfully, her eyes going soft. I'm into sports like I play mini golf. And you didn't say anything else.
Thanks.
Thanks. I'm happy to learn more about you. There's so much I hadn't heard. Cove leaves the details out. So what exactly did Cove say about me? Kira laughed, holding a hand in front of her mouth. I can't tell you that. I didn't come all this way to embarrass my son too much. Kids are delicate at this age. She laughed again, and you glanced at Cove to see his reaction. He was trying not to pay attention, but you could tell he was uncomfortable. Hoping it would clear some of the tension in the air, you decided to ask Kira a few questions of your own. Cove hadn't told you much about her, and you were curious to know more about this woman, who was such a big part of his life. What exactly do you do for work? I'm a travel writer for magazines and things. I keep people in the loop on what's worth seeing. It's good work. Wow. What do you like to do? Where do you live normally? Are you in a relationship now? What did you and Mr. Holden get to... Where do you live normally? Nevada. Have you ever been there? You shook your head. It's a beautiful place. Check it out if you can. What do you like to do? Spend time with my little boy, of course. And traveling. A real shock, huh? I'm not gonna ask those questions. I don't want to upset Cove. Couldn't bring yourself to ask another question. Didn't seem to bother her that the conversation dropped off. Cove sipped his soda angrily, slurping up the remaining drink with furrowed brows. He looked ready to run straight out of the restaurant. You weren't sure if coming along had ended up making the lunch better or worse. You made a silly face at him. You smiled at him. You gave him a sympathetic look. You flicked his straw wrapper at him. You left him alone. You smiled at him. Cove eventually noticed you watching him. It took a couple of moments, but finally he cracked a smile, and that made you feel a little lighter inside.
Very cute.
You two seemed really cute together. Cove covered his face with his hands and leaned back in his seat.
Seriously?
Ugh, Mom! Why would you say that? You blushed. Were the two of you really cute together? Your meals were delivered shortly after that, and everything was so delicious, even Cove enjoyed his food.
Okay.
Alright, now that we're all full and content, can you explain, please, why you've had a bug up your butt all day? Cove's face scrunched at that. Seriously, baby, what did Mom do to make you this mad? I haven't even been around a full day yet. He gripped the edge of the table, refusing to make eye contact. The words he spoke were barely audible over the din of the restaurant. You could have told me. She leaned forward to not miss anything else, eyebrows raised. Told you what? He finally seemed to find his voice and spoke the thoughts that had been on his mind. That I wasn't going to visit you this year. That you were going to be coming instead. Didn't you invite me? You wanted me here with you. Cove's eyes began to shake, and his frustration ebbed. I don't want you to be around. But I didn't know it'd be like this. It's not the same. And nobody said anything.
I see.
I see. Her expression grew intense. She threaded her fingers together and placed her hands in front of her on the table. We've both been gifted another Clifford surprise. Referring to that as a Clifford surprise almost caused both you and Cove to crack a smile. You also had no idea his name wasn't just Cliff. Over 5 years, nobody had ever called him Clifford until now. She smoothed her hair out, not letting go her stern look. The more things change, the more they stay the same. They let out identical sighs, but smiled weakly at one another afterwards.
I'm sorry.
I can go home, Cove. We can still set up a normal trip to my place before the summer ends. Cove's lips tightly closed together. He seriously pondered the option. I think I do want you to stay. I miss it when you're not here. There. My heart. She reached across the gap, grabbed his face, and planted a kiss on his cheek. Cove tried to wiggle away. Mom, stop! I'm sorry. Sweet young men need to be smooched by their parents. If I don't, they'll take away my mom license. Carol was completely enthused by Cove's admission, though a tone of seriousness did return to her voice when the conversation continued. Do you want to talk to your dad too?
No.
No. Cove had snapped the word instantly, but reeled his annoyance back in just as quickly. Maybe later. Not today.
It's all right.
I understand. We can shelve it. Thanks, Mom. Thank you for talking to me, little mister. She grinned affectionately at him before turning her way. And thank you, Jamie. Huh? What did I do? It's easy to act like a baby with your mom. It's harder to keep that up with your neighbor, watching everything. Especially when you really care about what said neighbor thinks of you. She winked. Mom! She just ruffled his hair with a laugh, then moved her hand down to tap the end of his nose. And that was how the issue was resolved, at least between Cobb and his mom. When the three of you left the restaurant and Kira had paid the bill, you walked back to your neighborhood slowly. It had eaten so much by the time you were beginning to feel sleepy. It didn't help that the lunch had happened late and the sun was already beginning to descend from the sky. But eventually you reached your street. Someone was there to greet your group on arrival. Welcome back, family, and Jamie too. Cliff. Dad. The two walked past him into the condo without sparing another word. Despite the summer heat, their shoulders were cold. Uh-oh. I'm in trouble. He rubbed the back of his neck with a crooked smile, but his eyes were soft as he looked on after them. He's so much like his mom, don't you think? You gave a vague nod, not sure what he was expecting you to do. He nodded back, far more energetically. Okay, have a nice night, Jamie. You too, Mr. Holden. With that, Co's dad disappeared to join the others inside. It was your turn to go home now. Summer hadn't started off at all how you imagined it would have, though it turned out to set the tone well. Having Kira in the neighborhood was a new experience for not only you and Co, but also both your families, and a dull moment was rarely had. I'm gonna save there. And I'm gonna end the episode 7, part 7, here. Thank you all for joining me. Love you all. Peace. Bye.